Frank Marshall Davis.
Bill Ayers' dad was?
Yeah, isn't that weird?
Well, that's impossible because Frank Marshall Davis lived in Hawaii.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, where did Frank live before that?
Well, Chicago, but I mean,
okay, yeah,
certainly not at the same time as Bill Ayers' dad.
Yeah, so they're very good friends. They're very good friends. You know who else is a really good friend of Frank Marshall Davis? Valerie Jarrett's dad.
Valerie Jarrett's dad, Bill Ayers' dad, and Frank Marshall Davis all hung out together?
Yeah. Yeah.
And they all have Barack in common somehow.
Yeah, isn't that weird?
So anyway, weird.
So Bill Ayers' father, was the head of, I think, Con Edison in Chicago. And
that's pretty big.
Yeah. And lo and behold, he somehow or another meets Barack and helps him get jobs, helps him get his first attorney's job. Really paves the way for him.
Sort of took him under his wing?
Yeah, and here's what's really strange. That all of this stuff happened, and Barack never met Bill Ayers. They just knew each other because they worked on the same floor at one point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Can you imagine how crazy would it be to be on the elevator when they were both going up and he was like, "Hey, who are you? I work on the third floor. I work on the third floor."
And you know what else is crazy about that? He didn't meet him even when he was in Bill Ayers' living room kicking off his campaign for the Senate in Illinois. Mm-hmm. It's so weird that he's in his house and didn't meet him.
Right. Well, they knew each other because of the house, but they didn't know each other.
Right. I mean, they don't know each other.
Barack Obama knew Bill Ayers' dad quite well. Think of that. That you're a guy who doesn't know Bill Ayers at all, but your dad is your mentor. That dad is a mentor.
Kind of his Chicago mentor, because his Hawaiian mentor was Frank Marshall Davis, the communist.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's really an interesting thing.
So Bill Ayers' dad was the head of Con Ed in Chicago, and how did this family become so anti-capitalist?
Look at the people who are Occupy Wall Street now. Look at the people who are in Occupy Wall Street. They're all the elites.
It's really something.
All of the elites. And Bill Ayers' dad is not exactly a raging blue blood strong capitalist. Remember, Barack Obama's hanging out with the communist of Frank Marshall Davis, and then looking for, what was it in his own word? The Chicanos. I love the way he
Marxist
said that.
professors.
Marxist
Chicanos.
Chicanos.
Structural feminists.
Yeah, all of those guys. Oh. And so somehow or another he gets
out. Those are the feminists with the underwire bras that they burned.
Structural.
Yeah, they burned.
Is that what it is?
They burned the underwire bras. Yeah, because they were structural in nature.
Who knew that part? Well, I mean, that's what we pay you for, I guess.
Exactly.
So the press hasn't done anything, and now the press is starting to say that, all this craziness about a Marxist. Can I just again ask this question? If you were hanging out with the Marxists, if you were hanging out with the structural feminists, if you were hanging out with, if Frank Marshall Davis was your mentor, and he's a communist with an FBI file, your mom is a communist, your stepfather is a communist, your father is a communist, your friends are communists. Don't you, when you become the President of the United States, and you're definitely not a communist, don't you see the communists that are on the streets in Occupy Wall Street? Don't you recognize, because you studied it, you were all there.
You grew up immersed in it, and you realized how wrong that philosophy is.
You become David Horowitz, don't you?
Yeah, you would think.
If you have a turning point, you say, I've got to defeat these people because this is an evil ideology. This is battery acid to the free market system. And so when you see it on the streets, wouldn't you be the one who doesn't say, it's kids like you that change the world, and I encourage you to rise up. Yeah, these are just kind of some crazy kids out there, and I see them as the average American. Wouldn't you recognize the signs of communism from a million miles away? And if you saw that and you really were a free market person, wouldn't you warn not only the American people, but wouldn't you then say, Kids, dopes, listen to me for a second, would you? This is a really stupid move you're making here. Don't do this. Look, I understand communism. I understand Marxism. I studied it. My mentor was a communist. I have all these communists in my past. I sought out the Marxist professors in college. So I know they're there, and I know you're listening to them. The system doesn't work. I can relate to you. Wouldn't you think that that would be the biggest campaign ever? That he would try to talk people out of Marxism, especially college kids? Because he would know when the converted see somebody else who are going down the wrong road, the converted always say, hey, brother, I have been there.
Yeah, you're uniquely qualified to address it in a specific way.
Isn't that strange that he's never done any of it except encourage them?
It's because he's still a communist.
How is this not reasonable?
Well, it is.
You can lay this out for your liberal family, any liberal, or, you know, somebody that doesn't want communism that voted for Barack Obama. You can lay it out piece by piece by piece, fact by fact by fact. We're going to stick their head in the ground, and they're not going to pay attention to it at all.
Definitely doesn't know. They're very close to his father, but definitely doesn't know of Bill Ayers. Listen to this.
Here we are, 4% of the world's population, 4.5% of the world's population, consuming vast amounts of natural resources, consuming vast amounts of finished goods, and no politician will say that the empire is declining and that the game is over. It's over. Now what? And you know, my optimistic friends say, oh boy, we're going to look like Germany. I mean, like Germany or England or France. And I think, geez, I mean, first of all, for England and France and Germany to become non-empires took the deaths of millions and millions of people. So let's remember that. But let's also remember that as power shifts and as people feel something changing, they can either embrace it as a possible good thing in the world, or they can hold on to and become more, you know, reactionary, more racist, more militaristic, and that's happening too. So it shouldn't surprise us to see the Republican primaries. I don't know about you, but I watched the debates as if watching a train wreck. I mean, I was just fascinated with it. My wife's just sickened by it. But, you know, another world is definitely coming, but that doesn't mean it's going to be a better world, and it's our responsibility to jump in.
Bill Ayers
just like he did back in the 70s.
Bill Ayers does not deserve to walk on the land in this country, and neither does Barack Obama. Neither of them deserve to walk on this land.
Because, why? See, it's very fascinating. When you tie these two things together, it's very fascinating. He said, you know, we're going to be like Germany or France. But remember, when those countries went down,
Took the deaths of millions of people.
Took the deaths of millions. Well, that's what he said with the Weather Underground.
Yeah.
Except he
was willing to do it.
He hadn't dropped the radical pose. He said, look, they're going to fight. There's going to be people who won't give up the capitalist system, the free market system. They won't give up on the idea of America, and they're going to keep their racist, occupying ways, their racist oppressor attitudes. And as many as 25 million people are going to have to be rounded up. We're going to try to re-educate them. But if they won't fit into the New World Order, then we'll have to kill them. I mean,
just like Mao did.
Yeah.
And that's what he doesn't mention either to all of his Marxist buddies, is that, you know, Germany and England and France had millions of people that had to die to lose their imperialist ways. What about China and Russia? Soviet Union didn't kill millions and millions of people? What was it that, how many people have communism killed?
Communism has killed
100 million?
100 million. Yeah, communism killed more than both world wars.
No, right? The only thing that competes with communism as far as a killer is infectious disease.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that even competes with it.
And he fails to mention that. And he is saying this now. He's sickened by it. His wife is sickened by it.
Yeah, you don't want to sicken a terrorist.
Yeah. So he's sickened by what he's seeing.
And that sickening Roseanne Barr can say, people like me, need to be brought up to the guillotine and have their heads chopped off, when she really means that. But Ted Nugent says, yeah, they need to have their heads chopped off in the next election. Oh, everybody gets all upset about that. Makes a big deal about that. Even gets the Secret Service in to investigate the statement. But nothing about Roseanne Barr literally meaning that they need to drag us all up to the guillotine and have our heads chopped off.
The lifeline.
And that's it for the day.